think a lot of dames are ready for that. I don't think any of us on this planet, coming from this crazy, scary world at this point, are ready to handle the deeply uncovered vulnerability way of life. I think that we're in the struggle, to open the heart together, and we need to understand and appreciate that it's a challenge we all share.
And yet also, could it be that you possibly opened your heart up to someone who, maybe you thought or was projecting that they were on the same page with you, when in reality they were nowhere clear or clear within themselves to really embrace their own essence or know what they wanted, so therefore they ran.
Right. Right. Well, this is, I've been trying to put together an understanding of things like this, but this is all, maybe you understand this as a woman. It seemed as though all of these women had, in some ways, very distant fathers. So when I was a little distant, they were kind of engaged with me. As though my I don't know how to find the word, as though my distance from them was in a way making me more credible and more credible. Like it was as though they were their self-concept was terrible. So if I was unavailable, I was sort of, I was reflecting, in Jeff's words, back how they felt about themselves. But then when I was looking them in the eye and told them I loved them, I wasn't credible anymore because now I saw them in a positive way that they didn't even believe in themselves. So,
right.
Right. So it was like I want the man to be, more open, but then he's open and then there's not interested. So what is that about? Women have to really look at that.
Well, what that is about is that, women are emotionally based, and because they're emotionally based, on some innate level, they feel superior to understanding emotions, when in reality, most of the time they feel, but they have not interpreted the emotions. So they really are still kind of at baby step number 2. And so when they're faced with kind of dealing with the real guts and glory of the emotion, they run because it's, holy shit, I don't know what I'm feeling, and this is foreign, and I've never experienced this before, and, Daddy never hugged me, and dear God, this is too much intimacy. I got to bolt. So, yeah, there is a lot of that, and I don't think there's a lot of truth to that coming out because, men notoriously will do it, and we call them out on it. But when women do it, it's, there's 1,000,001 reasons or avenues that they can go to validate why they did it, when in reality it's fear. And, it all comes down to basic, simple truths, doesn't it, Vin?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I really feel, that, and I've been meditating and trying to get clearer, and I feel as though we have to understand what Jeff wrote really, and more in the second apology than the first, is right, that we're coming from this what he calls survivalist or animalistic world, and all of these behaviors somehow are reflecting that, as we move in the direction of a safer world where we can come from our hearts more, then we can develop new language, a new way of sharing with one another. And, right now, this time, and as things are waking up in a way, but we're still really at the very beginning of crossing that bridge. So that's what it is. And I think we need to stop blaming each other and understand the context that we've all been in here.
Then you're just blowing me away with your evolution. I'm so impressed from our last chat, but I have to agree totally with what you're saying, and I really appreciated Jeff's second apology even more than I appreciated his first one, because it did begin to address the female issue. Personally, I think he went way too easy on the females, but I think that it's a beginning to open up the female side of our role in relationships, because it's not all about what the man needs to do. It's what both genders need to do within that relationship. And they have to honor and respect and trust one another to really get to the core of that. Because if there isn't that trust, how can they really open up the depth of who they are? And if there isn't that respect, they're never going to get to the trust part. So, and there we go back to ourselves, because if they don't respect themselves, if they don't trust their own heart and feelings, if they don't trust their own truth, they're never going to trust another person. So again, we have to come from excavating all our crap, all our goo, all our stuff, individually at gender issue, whether it's female or male, and then coming into the union. And, I'd say that, Vinnie, your psychotherapist is quite astute in supporting who you are as a man, and also bringing out, the lighter, more jovial, connected side to the intimacy part of relationships within you, because you've really come such a huge way in such a short period of time.
Right, but let's not give the psychotherapist too much credit here. I mean, this is again. Let's give
I'm giving you credit,
the man.
man.
Let's give the man a little credit over here.
The man's getting all the credit.
She's good, but I teach her. She's $250 an hour, so she's already getting enough credit already. So I'm working at it. I'm working at it, and I'm doing my, and I do feel I'm shifting as best I can,
Well, you are. You're shifting incredibly well, and I think that says a lot in regard to just basically coming from honesty. Is that you're not blowing hot air under her skirt in regard to telling her what she wants to do. You're being honest.
But, I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to. I didn't like the apologies that he wrote so much because they're wussy. I think there's a way to convey that you're in a way that's more proud, and I think that's the way you do hold everything together. He grew up with a mother who's always making him feel like he has something to apologize for, so he keeps apologizing already. But for me, it's more about just stating facts. I did this because of this. I should have done better, but you should have too. Then we're together in it.
Right, and that's the other piece is, I don't mean to be taking the, kind of I am, and so therefore I am. But, I am putting a lot of responsibility on the females here, because I think that the women, it comes from the women. We are innately gifted to bring forth life, and life is the birthing of a love. That's something that it's all-encompassing. And so because of that gift, I do believe that it's a responsibility to really honor that love. And to honor that love, it has to start with us. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, you have to have that chicken, the chicken to house the egg. So you need the chicken. You need the female to come forth and really, almost not teach the man, but to at least be open to allow the man to evolve. Because I think that there's a lot of this is the way it is, and in a lot of mentality, and then the men thinking, oh, dear God, they know more than I do, I'm just going to shut up. And so they shut down into their own sense of where they feel familiar and comfortable.
Absolutely. Everybody's part of it. But I also, and I've been very hard on women in my time, very hard. But, very hard. But at the same time, I now understand that, again, the compassion comes from recognizing that we're in this together. And so that women were confronted with a reality too. And the reality was, in that harsh world, if they always opened their heart, they were felt under attack or unsafe. So instead of they're nasty with their kid at dinner and their breakfast, and they're talking mean and be all that, but that's because probably didn't feel like they could express their upset directly because they were afraid of their warrior man, So this is how it works as a relationship, a sociological thing where everyone's in this thing together, So of course everyone has to take responsibility, but I think we also have to learn how to shift like the way the world was that made everything unsafe and crazy for everybody. So we're so extreme in our roles instead of more balanced in our roles,
And how did we become so stuck in the muck of repression? Because a lot of this is, repressed, and it's repressed on the female aspect of really being real, and it's repressed on the male aspect of really afraid to open up. And, I mean, generations and generations of repression have really made it a familiar state of comfort for so many that, why can't we, look at that and put it in its proper place with realizing, that's not the way to go anymore. Just like feminism opened up, the power for women. Why can't open hearts open up that power of really being true and honest with our communication and our hearts and our feelings,
Because the world's not safe enough yet. That's the whole thing. It's going back to the sociology. When I grew up feeling emotions like a little boy does, my grandfather used to say, "Don't look back, look forward." Don't look back, look forward. The philosophy was one based completely in survival. You alter, or as Jeff says, you adapt your consciousness to managing reality. It didn't, in an animalistic world where competition and ego were everything, we're moving from animals to humans.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So those kind of emotions didn't have a place when you needed all your focus on just getting enough food on the table for your family. Weeping and crying were not. So repression was a necessary evil. If we're going to shift out of repression, then we have to, and I don't think we are there yet, despite the fact people say we're getting there so fast, where the world is so safe for everyone and where our economic structures are not dependent on adapting and putting on masks for our personality, but where we're making our money being authentically who we are, and not being so frightened of being who we are, so that when we interact with each other, we're able to move our emotions more fluidly, right?
Right.
We got to change the world. Like when laws get put in place, people think there's no connection between gender stuff and law. Well, laws make the world safer, and people have more rights, and then they feel safe enough to speak their heart, because it's not going to get them into trouble.
That's true. And it also, when you come from a place of what have you got to lose with being honest and truthful, it's much easier to come from that place. So if you can look at it as I have nothing to lose, and if you can step out of that old fear of abandonment and rejection and really look at it as, okay, well, if that comes up, that's what needs to come up, and I can look at it and put it in its proper place. I think when you feel like you have nothing to lose, you can really be more genuine. Because when you feel like you're being held to a specific standard, whether it's a societal standard or a gender standard, that's where you really get boxed in. And I don't like boxes. So it's really freeing, I think, for relationships in general when they can just get to a place where they're looking at each other and knowing that they can say what's on their mind and heart and be true and honest and open. And that allows the other person to kind of let that crack open a little bit more too. And and I agree. I mean, the society's kind of we're steeped in fear. There's fears all around the globe, and even though we're accelerating, it's still not enough to open up the hearts wide. However, there is that pull for so many to open up that love energy, and that's what's also throwing people off because they don't know what that jolt is. They don't know what that push and that stretch is.